Welcome in, guys. It is Book Talk Talk. We are here with the amazing ID Marie, the writer of The Tyrant's Daughter. An amazing
You
book.
have it.
Also, yeah, of course I have it. What kind of author would I? What kind of interviewer would I be if like she has a book? I'm not going to show it to you, but like she's got one. No, of course it's right here.
That's a really
It's
good point. That's fair. That's fair. I'll give it to
yes. One of the things that I wanted to hit to you before we even started getting to your books, we're at the end of March Madness, and one of the things that like people that aren't on TikTok don't get to see, you go through this very elaborate March Madness setup, and I just want you to like go through a little bit of what you do there, because I think it's really interesting to talk for you to be able to work with indie authors and things like that in the way you have everything set up. Also, I'm joining next year. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm in
Okay,
next
you're
year.
in.
I couldn't do it this year just because like my fantasy novel's not out yet, and all my other books that I do are horror anthology. So like everybody's like this in there for like this long before I murder them off. So like
That's fair. Yeah.
it's not great. So it was like power rankings. It was like, oh yeah, they were alive for 5 minutes and then they're dead. I'm gonna get kicked out in the first round.
Yeah, there's not much canon to go off of for what I'm pulling it up my old March Madness off my website. Yeah, so it just started. I think I was on a call with like Michael Melwassel and Seth Campbell, and we were all talking about which of our characters would win in a fight. And I said, wait, this was like 3 years ago now, because we've had three iterations of the tournament. So I said, wait, what if we actually like did a full-blown tournament where a bunch of authors can get online and people can vote to see who wins, and then that'll be a much more what's a good like tangible way to see who would win those competitions. And I set up a voting thing. People could sign up via Google, and everyone signed up and the tournament filled up, and it's been going ever since, and people love it and they look forward to it every year. And it's a great time because so many authors, I've met so many of my friends on this app through that tournament, and I've met, oh my goodness, so many readers through that as well. And every author that I talk to that goes and joins the tournament sees an uptick in their website traffic, TikTok account traffic, book sales. So it's just incredible all around. It's a great fun month. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember at the very beginning of the month, we were just like, oh man, we don't have the slots filled, or we're just not really sure that everything got done. It was just like, yes, she's got it. And I haven't been able to like join in on the voting, but like I've been watching all the recaps, and I'm just like, it's so much fun to watch, but at the same time, there's like a FOMO because I'm just like, I could have been there if I had just like edited quicker.
How close are you to finishing your book?
I'm the last 3 chapters of edits.
Okay.
Last 3 chapters of edits, and then I got to send it off to line edits, and then I'm shooting for June-ish
Okay.
to get it out there, and then my other books will come out later on in the year. But that was my favorite one. Like that's the one I've been like writing for like 20 plus years.
Oh my
Like,
goodness. Yeah.
so I don't know how old you are, but like back in the old days, back in the way back and beyond, we have these things called zip disks, which are like basically just like larger hard disks that could just like do like a feel you could fill up more stuff. So I had my whole novel on a zip file or a zip disk, and then it corrupted. Yeah. It corrupted.
Oh no.
27 chapters into the book.
Oh
And I
my
lost.
God.
And I was not one of those people who was like, maybe I should make some backups and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I got this. It's hard. It's very like durable. It's fine. And then it wasn't.
Oh, that's happened
So
to me with Microsoft Word. So I know the pain. It's not great.
yeah, so I didn't write for 20 years. I was like, done.
Yeah, you get mad.
I complete because I tried. I was like, maybe I could piece together my world, and then I couldn't. And I was like, I'm done.
Oh.
So as I have a podcast going, and we've through that podcast we write short story horror, and through that I started to like kind of get my love of writing back again, and then boom, I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I had to redo my whole language and all that kind of stuff. But it's not about me right now; it's about you. And the Tyrant Store was awesome. It was very fast paced. So I love your writing style here. But also, one of the things that I loved about it, and one of the reasons why I kind of wanted you on the book club, is you are a scientist yourself, and you based a lot of the mutations and the science behind your book on like real world applications. So like I love that idea, and I'd love for you to explain to some of the people that may not know your background what you were able to do and how you were able to inform your writing through your real world experience.
Oh, I love that question. So yeah, I'm a bioengineer by trade. I'm actually taking a break from work right now to do this, so it's been nice. I don't know. I sci-fi and the idea that you can really turn it into whatever you want to. You can take as much of your education as you want and turn it into something. I think that's what differentiates it from fantasy. And I think recently sci-fi has become, oh, well, because it's science fiction. And that's the only explanation for things that are the phenomena that's going on in these sci-fi stories. And for me, like X-Men or just all these different Marvel movies where they go, yeah, it's just science you don't understand. And I said, I get that, but that's fantasy. That's how you tell fantasy stories. You go, oh, well, because magic. So for me, when I started writing these books, I said, well, I can over engineer these superpowers. I understand anatomy. I understand, like, I had to take these classes in college. I understand how genetics works. I understand how all of this happens. Can I explain it a step further? It doesn't need to be perfectly explained, but can I really limit myself and force myself to challenge, like be challenged in, okay, any abilities that I put in this have to be able to be found in the real world. And I really try to limit myself to that. And it's made it fun because it's made the magic system, I think, a lot really engaging for readers because there's a very specific rule set you have to follow. And I think readers enjoy that because I'm being held accountable. I can't just pull something out of my hat last minute and say, yeah, well, that's just how the system works. I think people like the stories because there are rules and I can't break them because they're reality. That makes sense.
It does make sense. And it gave you very tangible situations that you're dealing with in the book when you're dealing with Ariadne and you're dealing with Jack, uh, when you're dealing with Rhino specifically. Like a lot of those fun parts of the story came together because you had all of these very specific rules that you're setting together. Even like Blue Crete, like they were all very fun, and you had it felt tactile. It felt like
Thank you.
you were in that story and you could kind of touch it, and it was like, okay, this makes sense to me even though it shouldn't make sense in this world.
Exactly. Like, I understand there's going to be some level of suspending disbelief. Like, I understand. But I wanted at least a level of, hey, I'm still trying to explain how things are happening, and you're never going to feel like my goal. We've all read books where you feel cheated in the end, or you feel like there's just like this last minute change and bending of the rules so a plot can work. And it's definitely been hard, and I've suffered writer's block because I go, oh crap, I've kind of written myself into a corner here. And but that's real life, right? It's rewarding when you have a character that has to break the rules in a very specific way, or you have to subvert things in a way that follows the rules that characters and readers understand. And I think I know my audience, and I know all of my audience are very technical people and they follow these rules to a T. So if I started breaking them, or if I didn't make these rules as rigid as they are, people wouldn't be having as much fun. Like, yeah, I can find a way to solve this problem. Well, it's not rewarding because the rules aren't that rigid. But with this rigid structure, basing it in science, me being able to explain it, I think it really makes it a true sci-fi story, which I was really aiming for.
I think you very much succeeded. It was like I said, everything felt very tactile. It felt like, okay, we're dealing with fantastical things, but it also felt like, well, you know what, this could happen with just like a few misfires of some chromosomes here and a little bit of mutation, and then this
Yeah.
is a thing. And like when you're dealing with, like you mentioned, the X-Men was definitely a thing where it was just like, yeah, it was just a little bit of a genetic mutation, and then you have this whole new like race of beings, and in your case it's Farah's. And even within those rules that are any of those into those worlds, that you have very finite rules. And like for example, like not without spoiling stuff for anybody that hasn't read the books, but when you talk about like when pharaohs have been pushed too far and they go feral, and
Yeah.
that was visceral. Oh my god.
It gets worse.
Oh, oh, great, great. Yeah, everything was fine. Everything was fine, and then alligator teeth, and then sadness.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's
I
fine.
wanted to because I don't like it when there's a power system and there's no punishment for the power. Like
Mhm,
you're able to just pull and pull and pull and take and take and take, and it's like that's also not realistic. Like even with normal humans, if you have a power lifter, if you have someone who's overdosing on testosterone, there are limits the body can't handle. There are, emotional changes. There's early death. There's, a point where you can't go past, like a point of no return. And so I wanted something that even the most powerful characters in the series have to fear. And for me, it was a very logical leap because this happens in the real world. It's that getting rid of the inhibitions of your psyche. So you've seen it with like mothers lifting up, like once again, all of the things that I think about in this series has a real world application. Like if you think about a mother, you've heard the story where a kid gets trapped under a car and somehow the mother is able to lift the car up to save their kid. It's the same thing. You get rid of that mental inhibition and you unlock this breath of power, but there needs to be a punishment for that. You can't just
mhm.
keep unlocking that without a level. So I think it adds a level of tension because I think you're reading it now, and this isn't too spoilery, but you see Ariane starting to push that limit, and it's supposed to be like, hey, watch, like you're not supposed to be doing this. And
Mhm.
it's definitely an element that gets played into and gets built upon with every book, which is pretty fun and exciting. I'm not going to spoil it too much because you're reading the second one now, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. I already have it. I haven't started it yet, but I'm it's already bought, and I'm excited for it. And then your third book's coming out. I know your these aren't the done. Like this is not a trilogy
Yes.
series. So you were going
So
further than this.
yes, so the fourth book is actually out now.
Oh.
The third one, my narrator just completed the third audiobook. And then I'm actually hopping on a call with him next week. So he's going to start working on the fourth one. And then, yes, it's going to be a 5-part series. I had to scrap my first two drafts of the entire book. And I'm redoing it because you know how it is. Like, probably the book that you're writing now that you had to scrap 20 years ago is very different than the one you're writing now because you're more of a mature author.
Mm.
And I think there were some themes that when I originally drafted this series, I wasn't mature enough as an author to explore. And so, yeah, long story short, I'm finishing up the draft of the fifth book. And it's just so scary because there's so much universe now, and I want to do it all justice and putting too much pressure on myself.
I get that. Yeah, like from what it was 20 years ago, it was just like, oh yeah, it's this little fluffy like thing, and then it's like, oh yeah, now I have 20 years of lived experience, and now this series is about a POC character who isn't necessarily accepted within his own people because no
Yeah.
Sabo kid. So like Spanish, like I like there's a big
Yo entiendo.
stigma.
Yo entiendo. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so, yeah. So you
I'm a
don't
no
and
sabo kid, so I get
oh
it.
my
I
god,
get it.
oh my god, when I am walking around the house and people start talking Spanish to me and they look at me and they're just like, "Oh, well, let me explain." I was like, "Yo entiendo todo, pendejo." Like I get it. I know what you're
Yeah.
saying. I am this old. I've been around Spanish. Just because I don't talk with you doesn't mean I don't understand everything you're saying. I can sit here and watch my telenovelas with you guys and understand everything without having to do it. So like
Yeah.
part of that story is very much on that side, and that was something that probably wasn't really around 20 years ago because like
I was
I
gonna
didn't
say,
have.
I'm like, if I know Paul's writing at all, it's not gonna be fluffy anymore.
I mean, so there's a little bit of fluffy. My character, my FMC is very much golden retriever vibes because like all of my like I get yelled at on stream a lot because like, can you just like tone down the golden retriever just a
Yeah.
little bit? I got like a spray command so that way they just like they they're just like I we need you like here. It's 8 a.m. Like we're all just
Yeah.
waking up. Most of us don't have caffeine. I was like, I don't need caffeine. I'm fine. And then, so like
I need
yeah,
caffeine to focus. I don't need caffeine to wake up, and that's just an author thing.
I'm actually fine. So like I am not a morning person, but once I get up, I am up and all the
Yep.
synapses are firing where they need to be. I
Yeah.
do appreciate caffeine. It
Yep.
helps, but it's not
That's
necessarily
me.
needed.
Yep.
So
I feel that.
I loved this story because it felt real in the respect that we were in real areas. Like
Yeah.
this is basically a dystopian series. Is the
Yeah.
dystopian the kind of the word? Because like everything feels, yeah, you know what, there is because there's very bad things happening in the in the outskirts of things. So tell me why you decided that you still wanted to have your fantastical world and all of these things within a general same area of where we might be in the world.
So there were like a couple reasons for that. So one, this whole book series was meant to be me being able to explore things that I might not be able to realistically explore myself. So Ariane is able to fluently speak Spanish. It's one of the things that I always, like we were just brushing upon. It's one of the things that I've always kind of wanted because of my family. And I just wasn't raised to fluently speak it. And so I wanted to give my character that. I want my characters to be able to travel. There's a reason they have wings. I wanted people to be able, this is action adventure. Like I wanted a sense of adventure. I wanted a sense of these characters are going places. Like every book, there's a different biome that I try to breach into and try to put the characters in because I want that sense of globetrotting and traveling and things. So for a huge part of it, it was I want my readers to be able to Google that town and put themselves in that town. So, oh, we're going to go to this very specific village. We're going to go to this very specific region of the world. I wanted people to be able to look it up on Google and be like, oh, I can put myself in that area. I see what's going on here. But in another realm as well, it was easier to, if it's sci fi, you can make it dystopian and you can say this is the future. And for people, I think it was easier for people to be able to check out and once again put themselves in those places if I wasn't like, naming these random new countries in these new areas and then being like, oh, it's like the Alps without blatantly saying that. If I just go, they went to the Alps, you know where they are. You
Hmm.
understand what's happening. So for me, it was, I was already doing so much world building and the global politics, the superpowers, how the world has changed in the years since we were existing, that for me, it just was an unnecessary ask to also put it in on a different planet. It wasn't going to change the story. So for me, I wanted to put my efforts into, like you said, you like the power structure, you like the world building, you like the politics and the characters and the psychology. I wanted to save my energy and put it towards that. So it was kind of like a two-pronged effort there. If hopefully that makes sense.
It does make sense. So like yeah,
Yeah.
at certain points that makes it very much easier to write, but at the same time it does give you the complexities of your story building. It's like it you are still, even though these places exist to some people would be like, oh, it's a cheat because like you don't have to worry about world building. It's like no, you're still creating a lot on top of that because it's not like 2026 France. It's hundreds of
Mhm.
years later France. So like a lot has happened.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's like it's not the France you know. So while yes, you can point to it on a map, what is happening there is not what's happening there now. Um
Exactly, and I think it's a great method as well because then when I do make changes, it's more stark to these people. You're
mhm,
going, "Oh, like there's specific landmarks and capitals and things like that that still exist, but it's a cultural thing." I show that like Pangea and this is in later books that you'll see, Pangea values the old and the richer people, the people with more means are living in these palaces, and that's a point of elite status. And
mhm,
then the people who are living in new stuff, it's almost that nouveau riche. Like, oh, if you have a fancy new skyscraper, you're not high class, you're nouveau riche. Or, if you're living in the remodified Paris, you're probably lower class. Like the
mhm,
older stuff is now what's valued in this economy. So it allows me to, like you said, build on that and have a much more complex story without having to expect my readers to become literate in this brand new map that I've created.
mhm,
I wanted people to be focusing more on the power metrics and the politics and the political intrigue and the psychology around the characters. So if I want that to be super complex, I don't want to completely change the language of how the world is operating. I think Dietrich posted something like that recently. He was talking about how, yeah, you can create your whole new language and you can create all these fancy, like, fantasy terms and stuff. But the more you pull readers out of what they understand, the more you're asking from them. And
Mhm.
I didn't really want to contend with that.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did understand that with and that's a real world thing too. It's like it's like
Yeah.
you're rich, but are you old rich? Did
Mhm.
is your money been around for like 300 years? No.
Get out of here.
It makes me feel like
Yeah.
it makes me feel like Titanic. Titanic was like that whole like that whole thing. It's like, oh, you're not old rich. You got new money. Eh.
That's not worth it. And dynamic, I think book four really explores that. Like a huge conflict in the story is one of the main villains is new rich and the other main villain is old rich. And there's actually this like contention between the two because one wants to be seen as the same and the other, and it creates a, whole global conflict. But I mean, I did want to explore stuff that still exists now because psychology doesn't change. And that's the thing I wanted to show in this series.
Yeah, it can be 300 years in the past, but like it
People don't change.
human people are people. Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
love I love dystopia because you have that situation where it's just like, oh man, all of this crazy stuff happened, but you're still kind of a shitty person. Why are you
Yeah.
still such a shitty person when you could be this person? And it's like, no, it's because humans don't change. There's still going to be terrible people in what could potentially be a utopia in like Pangea, or like, or at least the veneer of utopian civilization. And then once you scratch that surface and you scrape away some of that in animal, some of it's like, oh wait, no, there's a lot of cavities there. I didn't
Yep.
realize that I just made that analogy, but that works.
That was a really good analogy, actually. Very. Did you go to the dentist recently?
I did not. I did not. It was just one of those things where it was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just go down this road.
The author in you is coming out, and love
It
it.
it is. It is. It's the prose. So gonna get that some of that purple prose there.
Ah. As you can see, I can access purple prose, but I don't, like you said, it's very fast paced. I don't value purple prose as much as, hey, I understand we all want a story, we all want to have fun. I'm not trying to be the next Tolkien, but I want to tell a story people enjoy. And
Mhm.
so I lean more towards, I'm not taking myself too seriously. You guys reading it, don't take it too seriously. We're here to have fun, we're here to tell a story, and then we're out.
Mhm. Yeah, we watch Indiana Jones for the action, not for like a soliloquy from Harrison Ford. Like
Exactly.
that's where
Exactly.
we're at. You don't have time for purple prose. It's just we got prose. Just accept prose. Leave the purple later. We got the purple in my books are the bruises. There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, the purple, I think there's a time and a place, right? Like
Mhm.
I think you need to still, like, I feel like Marvel movies started, and I wrote this series because of my love for comics and superhero movies, and I wanted my own superhero story. But one of the things that started to, as you said, bruise was they stopped slowing down for the emotional beats.
Mhm.
Because you can have purple prose in this kind of storytelling, but it's more of a highlight, it's more of an accent than the entire plot. And when you forget about it, that's when the story feels hollow. You don't connect to the characters. And I think that's something Marvel has been failing at recently.
Yeah, there was definitely a shift after Endgame. Like you really like everything was leading up to that, and there was so much emotion going through,
Mhm.
and then you have like Infinity Wars, and I bawled. I
Yep.
bawled when
Mhm.
Peter died. When it's 10 years,
Mr.
we're
Stark,
good.
I don't feel so good.
I can spoil these, but yeah, when Peter was just like, I don't
Yeah.
feel so good, Mr. Stark. I'm like, just oh, pain.
And you need that. And then you can have
Yes.
Star-Lord being a dumbass. Like, so like
Mm,
it's the dichotomy, right?
yeah. And then you get that payoff with Endgame, and you were just like bawling when he's like, "I love you 3000." I'm like, "I love you too. I love you too. Why? Why did you leave us?" And everything was fine, and then everything it was good. It was such a good thing. So like, I'm excited to read more of your book. So now since you are now coming up on your fifth book, how is it going to feel? Because I'm like, for my book, it's going to be a trilogy. Like, I'm one of those like I get a 3-act play in me, and we're good. I might revisit the story. I might revisit the world later. Like, that's kind of one of my
Mhm.
what I want to do. If you're familiar with like a Terry Brooks, where like his whole world is like Shannara, and it was just
Mhm.
like I've got like 32 books in there, but they're all like 3-book series, 4-book series, and then it's just everything lives in that sandbox. Are you going to feel some kind of like horrific letdown once you were done this series? Because like you've invested a lot of time into a 5-book series and this world that you've built. Uh, what are you going? Have you even thought about what's going to happen once you leave this series?
So it's really interesting because it used to be a three-part series. So when I was originally years ago drafting it, I was like, one, two, three, perfect. And then I hit the end of book two, like my first draft of book two. It doesn't look anything like it does now. But I started looking at the world I created, and I'm like, we could exist here for so much longer. Like I could finish it in three, but it's gonna feel rushed. And so I made that decision then. I'm like, it needs to be a five-parter. Like, there's so many cultures and lore to explore in this series. And so for me, I almost see it like Star Wars, where I kind of told the middle story. This five-part series is what's happening in the middle. And as you get through the series, I allude to this before, like what was happening in modern day before Pangea existed. And so it really just depends on how well this series does. If it takes off and there is a desire for me to re-explore it, I of course have ideas to maybe tell a trilogy about what happened in the past. How did
Mm,
we get to this point? And then I haven't quite fleshed it out, but I think there is potential to tell a story 100, 200 years in the future from this point. I almost want, because Legends of Pangaea was meant to be a bridge between sci-fi and fantasy, and I could very easily, I think I could tell a story like a prequel series that's very hardcore sci-fi, and then tell a sequel series that's very hardcore fantasy. Because the whole point, this series is happening at a very key point in time where the world is transitioning away from the world of humans and into a more fantastical place. And as this book series goes on, you see the world start to move towards fantasy. So I could very well see that happening. But once again, I need to wrap this up and feel happy with all the endings. I think that's why it's taking me so long to finish book 5 is I have all these threads I want to finish and I want to be satisfied. I don't want to be sad when I finish book 5. I want to feel like everything's been wrapped up. Maybe there's a couple loose ends that we can pull on for other stuff. But it really just depends on if my readers want that. If not, I think I might go explore a different series I'm thinking about and maybe one day I'll come back. But there's definitely content. It's just whether or not my readers want to hear it.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I already know where, like, if readers want me to come back to to my series before, like, I already know the character because it was just like, can we get more of her? And I was just like, yes, we can. However, we gotta like here, and it was like, yes, but her. I'm like, here first. We'll get to her
Yeah.
later. And it's fine. So like it will be like that character's turn if we do go back,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of backstory that we did have to kind of I did have to kind of like yada yada over some stuff. It was just like there's a lot there because there's a massive time skip in my book. So it was just like I did that for two reasons. Number one, because I wanted to tell the story in the present to give you a glimpse of the past,
Mhm.
but at the same time, um I wanted to be like there's a lot that we can explore in this
Yeah.
world. And I
Mhm.
think that's what your opportunity too. It's like, yes, we're hundreds of years into the future, but like we can go back here if the readers wanted to. And
Mhm.
I like that you are leaving a lot of room for yourself there. Um, once you get through this, where do you see yourself going?
So it's interesting. So once again, like people, you mentioned a good point. Like people are asking about specific characters, and I've had ideas for like standalones where it's just like, oh, we're gonna branch off and tell this character's story maybe in a 90,000 novella, in a 90,000 word novella. I think I want to move on from this world for a little bit just because, as an author, I don't want to corner my market. If I go to a book expo, I need to sell The Tyrant's Daughter. Like, that is the only route someone has to read my books. I want to make some other books that I can say, oh, like, you're not into sci fi. Well, here's a Southwestern fantasy, here's a Southwestern thriller. And so I have a Southwestern themed thriller based on my family's hometown of Tucson. I'm obsessed with Tucson, Arizona. So I started drafting that, and I think I might pursue that after this series just so I have a little bit of diversification. This could be an option for me to explore querying. I am terrified of it. I want to do it, and I wanted to do it with a book I might not be as in love with, like more marketable. But this book series, The Tyrant's Daughter, that Legends of Pangea is my baby. I don't want anyone touching it and changing it.
Mhm.
But for a book that maybe I wrote in 9 months and I'm proud of it, but I'm not as emotionally attached to, is something I could give to a publishing company and be like, have fun. Turn it into your next bestseller. Do whatever you want with it. I'm not as emotionally attached because I wasn't writing this for 10 years.
Mhm.
So that's an avenue for me. I have a drafted Southwestern fantasy series that maybe I could do independently. And then I have kind of two routes for people to take. So I have ideas. Sorry, long story short, I have ideas, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see where it goes.
I mean, on that route, I've thought about querying every now and then because like there's a
Yeah.
couple like I am all over the place on what I write because
Yep.
I I was a latchkey kid growing up, so it was one of those things where it was like, oh man, let's play in the sandbox. I was like, yeah, but like there was a lot of shit that I just like walked around on because like I was a feral child that just went everywhere. So like
Yeah.
a lot of my stuff like I like my fantasy series, but then I also have like a Hades retelling. I have a
Ooh.
lot of unhinged romance. I'm very much like let's tell this weird ass story that no one really asked for. And it was like
Oh my
if
god.
it's fun. It's like I have what my the next book that'll actually be coming out after the fantasy series is actually like an unhinged romance between a girl that falls in love with a guy that's trapped in a comic book.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's so creative. I like that.
And so like I love romance. I read a lot. I read a lot of romance. My chat like laughs at me a lot because it was just like, so what smut are you reading today? I'm like, first, it's not always smut. It
Sometimes it
exists.
is.
It sometimes it is. Like I literally just finished a book last night that was a sleep paralysis demon that can paralyze pretty much everything except for one particular part of the book. But it's fine. It's fine. It's what I want to read. My chat is
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
fine.
Uh, well, then I think you might like Prince of Paradise because every book in my series is a different blend of the genre of sci-fi. So, like, book one was like action adventure sci-fi. Book two is romantic comedy sci-fi. Book three is thriller sci-fi, and then book four is cyberpunk sci-fi. So each one has a slightly different feel. So if you're a
Okay.
romance fan, you actually really might like Prince of Paradise because I had to add like a little bit of the romance genre into it to
Mm,
justify making that the subgenre. So every book has a slightly different feel. If you don't like one book, the next book's vibes might be slightly different. I just wanted to switch it up and challenge myself. So
mm.
I'm very happy you like romance because now I think you might like this book.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what I did. What kind of got me back into writing was doing our horror podcast, and like that's basically what that is. It's like we just come up with we look at a different cryptid or a different ghost story or something like that, and then we write a story based on it. Campfire Ashes. Yes, you should check it out. If you like spooky stories told around the campfire and then learning the lore and the legends that bring them to life, Campfire Ashes. But then
I'll have to
package
check
that
that
all
out.
no
Yeah.
we package that all up into a book. So like I treat those stories as kind of a writing exercise. It was like, let me see if I could write a story from this perspective or this kind of thing. And I think that is kind of informed by writing. Is that like I just want to do whatever. Let me see if I can do this. Let me find a shifter romance where the werewolf is cursed, but he can only be a human for one day instead of being a wolf for one day. And I was just like, that should be a weird
Yeah.
story to write. Or
Yeah.
or a pair of serial killers that really kind of fall in love with each other, and the serial killer has a problem because there's a necromancer in the other town that's bringing back all of his victims, and now he's got a problem. Like,
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
Which is fun. It's a good way to look at things too, because you have this like breadth of lore in North American mythology, and now you can just use those powers and pre-established stories to like tell your own twist. I like that. I like that.
hmm So one of our reviewers is asking, it's like, who do you relate to most in your books so far?
Oh my gosh. Well, Ariane definitely. She originally started as almost a self-insert and she's kind of become her own character. But I really did make sure that you know your best character flaws yourself. And so I wanted to make sure Ariane was not your classic Mary Sue. So I gave her my impulsivity, I gave her my ADHD, I gave her like the frustration and the quickness to anger. Like that is me. And in a way, it's been very like therapeutic to write myself into that like world because I can say, okay, well, if this happened to me, this is how I would respond. And so for me, it's just like she is my heart. I love her so much. I think Jack, I mean, I find myself in all my characters. I think with Jack, like his struggles with falling back in love with his art and his craft and pushing away who he's become as an adult to find that like childlike wonder again is definitely me coming back to writing. So yeah, I think every character has a little bit of me in them, honestly.
Okay. Yeah,
Who
so
did
far
you relate to?
I really liked Jack. So like I just like I was gonna message you earlier. I was like, Jack's my dude. Like
Yeah,
like maybe like 3 or 4 chapters in, I was just like, I liked that he was he's completely untrusting of the world, and everyone around him was like, these are good people, they're gonna be fine. He was like, nope, don't trust them, don't care, gonna betray them at one point, and then kind of start feeling bad about it. But at the same time, still he keeps falling back onto his problems, and it exasperates all of the consequences that happen to him. But he at the heart, he still feels like a very human character. And
thank you.
I loved that he was an incredibly flawed character, but you still rooted for him. There weren't a lot of characters in your stories that was just like, nope, hate that person, just unnecessarily evil for no reason. Well, we had that with Leon, but like a lot of your ancillary characters, you didn't necessarily hate. Like Blue Creek, you probably should have hated, but you didn't quite hate. Even Pandora, you had me feel.
Pandora,
You had me
yeah.
feel for a moment. I was like, oh, now I'm sad about this psychotic person that we're supposed to absolutely hate. Like,
Pandora's my study into how much can I make her do and still have my readers feel bad for her. And I have readers message me all the time being like, I hate her, but like I understand.
yeah,
So it gets worse. It gets worse. But Jack is very
great.
hard because his personality is very much I tried very hard to thread that needle. And this was my background in psychology. Like I took a bunch of psychology classes in college. I'm trying to make he's very much the character, like you said, heavily flawed. I wanted to do a study into like the male brain. I have a brother, I have a lot of male friends. I talk to a lot of them about like depression and the need to be masculine, but also having these feelings and these emotions. And as the series goes on, you see Jack become more in tune with his emotions, and it actually becomes his weakness because he feels so strongly and he pushes it down. And I really wanted him to be, and I think a lot of my male readers love him because I wanted to make it I wanted male representation in feeling emotions because I feel like a
hmm
lot of characters nowadays don't. Like a lot of male characters, leading male characters, just become the hunk that is super attractive and super masculine and save the day. And I'm like, I wanted to subvert that. I wanted to make sure men had that representation and heavy psychology and being flawed but still being lovable. So I'm happy you liked him.
hmm Yeah, so along the lines that you're talking about there, like if you grew up in the 90s, you or 90s and 2000s, you had characters like, for example, like if you're Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you had characters like
Yeah.
Angel and Spike, who like were all that like gruff, very flawed characters, but at some point you have this emotional arc that kind of brings them back down into reality, and helps you like create that connection with the viewer. And I felt that Jack had that, where it was just like, oh yes, he's this character, he's this at some point slimy character and smarmy character, and very like glib and annoying, but at the same time it's like you could feel very much where he came from and why he felt that way. and it was very much appreciated on that level. I loved Ariane. Ariane's great, but yeah, like Jack was just like, I like Jack.
And it's funny because originally, like years ago when this was first drafted, Ariane was the only main character. And I felt like the series lacked this dynamic. And as the series went on, I fell in love with Jack and he became this very complex, detailed character. And now I don't think the series would have as much strength as it does because their dynamic drives the entire series. And I very much think they've become yin and yang. And I actually wrote something, someone interviewed me and asked that question. And I responded with, like, Ariane is very much all heart and is driven by passion. And she needs to learn how to tone that back and control it to become her most effective self. While Jack, on the other hand, is very much control, is very much procedural, is very much, if this happens, I do this. I don't care if it affects me emotionally. And he needs to learn to be in touch with his emotions and understand the emotional impact of his actions on himself and others. And that would make him more effective because he, as the book goes on, he learns to trust others. He learns to work on teams. And that's the whole series. And so they play off of each other as teaching each other to level out and open up to that part that they're shutting down and not listening to. So that's the whole dynamic of the series. Not a spoiler, but thematically.
Mhm. As an indie author, it is well, on the tougher side. I do appreciate the fact that you did have audiobooks, which is not an easy thing to do for indie authors. I'm in the process of that. I'm like 3/4 of that one done. Um,
Hey.
since I have Twitch, a lot of my friends that are streamers are also like, I want to get into voice acting. I'm like, well, if you want to get into voice acting, sign up on ACX right now so I can please help me.
Yeah.
And through that we've actually been able to get the both Campfire Ashes have um narrators doing them right now. So like the first one will be out pretty soon. Um how did you pick the voice of your narration, and where, like, how did that handle it? Because coming from an indie author's perspective, there's very much different than trad authors. We've had traditional authors on the channel. It's pretty much just like, oh yeah, that's what the company told me they were going to use, or like I got my choice of 3 people. So like, what was the difference between that and what you were able to accomplish?
Oh, that's actually a really cool perspective. I've never spoken to a traditional author, so I didn't know how much control they had over it. For me, I am just
Some
very
do, some
like
don't.
you talked, yeah. You were talking about like community and stuff, and actually it kind of fell into my lap. So I was considering it. And do you know Seth Campbell?
No.
SM Campbell? He is a steam ocean punk fantasy author, and he's a good friend of mine, and we were on live on TikTok at one point, and he was talking about that he just got his audiobooks done. And I said, oh my gosh, like you, that's way too daunting for me. I'm new to this. I don't know how to even start. And he's like, oh, my narrator, her husband is looking for work, and I actually think his voice sounds a lot like Jack. And I said, all right, well, bring him on the live. So the 4 of us hopped on live, and the second my narrator spoke, I was like, that's Jack. That is Jack's voice. And I said, point blank, I'm like, Zach, if you want the job, it's yours. And so he's been working with me ever since, and we've never looked back. He does such an incredible job. His female voice is great. So for
Hmm.
Ariane, I needed that. But his natural speaking voice, just like the smarminess, like you said, the sarcasm, it's Jack. If you listen to an audio bite, it's 100% him. He plays the sarcastic but conflicted and very dark thought person very well.
Hmm.
And he also does a very good job of going between the serious notes of my book, so actually putting emotional depth into those scenes, but also leaning back and leaning into the sarcasm and the heinousness and the absurdity of other scenes. So he just does it really well, and oh my god, I'm so excited for him to work on book 4 because book 4 is my favorite, and it's the funniest, it's the most emotionally charged, so I can't wait to see what he makes. But book 3, he did an incredible job. Like, he does an incredible job every time, and I'm very happy with how it worked out.
Yeah, it was awesome. I felt like I needed to take a shower every time Ace talked. It was
Oh,
very
so you
like,
did the audiobook. You
oh
did the
yeah, no,
audiobook.
I no, yeah,
Okay.
100%. I am an audiobook first person. So like
Yeah.
I will read a book. Like I have physical books, and I'm like the
Yeah.
next author that we're talking to. at the end of the month she doesn't have an audiobook, so I'm fine with with reading books, but like I will, if you give me an audiobook, I will go audiobook first. So yeah,
I
like
know.
Zach's voice was awesome. I loved the characters. Um Ace bothered me, but like in a good way.
Ace,
Like it
he
was
does such a good job with Ace. It is
like I said, it's like I felt dirty. I'm like,
That's the
just
point.
like
He
yeah.
adds so oh my gosh, I didn't know you did the audiobook, so
Oh
now I
yeah.
can talk even more about this. He adds a layer to the series really well. Like some
Hmm.
audiobooks can be a little flat. He does a really good job. He'll go, "Hey, can
Yes.
you listen to this chapter?" I go, "No, I'm not going to direct you because I want to see your perspective. This is your art project as well. This is your art." And every time he interprets a scene, carries the emotional depth really well. I'm so glad. So you think he sounded a lot like Jack too?
Yeah, I loved that. Maybe that might be why I gravitated to Jack so much, is because like his
Yeah.
character, his voice, and the feelings that he put into Jack, I think maybe I connected with a little bit differently. And that's
Yeah.
probably why I was just like, Jack's my dude. Although like I liked Rhino.
Rhino's fun.
Jaya was good. Arion, his Arion voice was actually very very good. His Leon was menacing.
Yep.
Caesar was good. At, like all of these characters were good. Ace just made me. I felt like I needed to take a shower every time Ace was on there. I was just like, I hate you. And we're supposed to hate Ace, which is fine. But it was just like every time he talked, I'm like, oh, hate that
That was the
character so
point.
much. Yeah.
She's supposed to like because you're in whenever she's talking, you're typically in Jack's head.
Hmm.
And you I also want to subvert that because I feel like a lot of times like the female characters are objectified. And I wanted to be like, no, I have male friends who have experienced these situations before. It happens. And you're supposed to feel that way. You're supposed to
Oh
be
yeah.
like, oh
Oh,
no.
even the way she said it is like Jack, and I'm like, stop it! I hate you! I hate you! Stop talking! Oh, he did such a great job because like the characters that you needed to hate, hated.
Hmm.
That's why I hated Pandora. I hated I can't remember what her name is, the lead scientist,
Oh,
um
Hera. Hera.
Hera.
Yeah.
Oh, Hera was mm,
Hmm.
mm.
Hmm. I'm
Another one
so
where I was
glad we
just
got
like,
these visceral reactions. I'm
oh
happy.
yeah. Oh no, I absolutely love audiobooks because they add such a great, when they're done well. Like, I've had a couple audiobooks, I'm like, okay, this is a book.
Yep.
This is
This
fine.
book exists. Yeah.
Yeah, it exists. Like I remember we had Diana Rodriguez Wallach on the stream, and she's a traditional author, and she doesn't get, well, she got to choose who she did, but she didn't really listen to her audiobook ahead of time. I was just like, I messaged her because like we've had her on the stream several times, and I was just like, chapter 3 made me cry. Why did you make me cry? She was like, was it that good? I was like, have you listened to the book? And she was like, no, I haven't. And then like suddenly, as the book came out, people were like messaging her. It was just like, why did chapter 3 make us hurt so much? And she went back to listen to chapter 3, and she messaged me. She was like, chapter 3 made me cry. And I was like, thank you. That's what we're supposed.
Yeah.
Um, and audiobooks, I think, add such a layer to it. Like Danielle's doing my book, and there's a couple times where she sent me some chapters, and they're so creepy and like weird. I'm just like creeping out, and then we're like, oh shit, I wrote that.
Yeah.
Wait, I wrote
I
that
will
book.
say
Why?
no, well, I will say, and I think you'll agree too, as an independent author, since you have to review the audiobook files yourself, for me, it makes me see where my readers love the story because for the first time, I'm actually able to experience my story
Mm,
as just as a listener, as a observer. And you get to see your story through the eyes of your readers for the first time because I don't know what to expect. And it is really a relationship. Like you need to find a narrator that's passionate about the project and
mm-hmm.
cares about the story as much as you do. And when you do, Zach's obsessed with Blackjack. Zach is in love with Blackjack. So I knew he was going to do his character well in the series. And he's performed amazing every time. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you probably your narrator, you picked a one that puts on the theme that you're looking for. And it just
Yes.
makes it such an incredible result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she leaned into the creepy like really, really well. And like I've liked her voice. Like I've known her for a lot of years and stuff like that. So like when she was talking about getting into audio narration for stories and video games and things like that, it happened. It was awesome. And she was at a con, and one of my readers came and brought their book. And like the story's not even out yet, and they got her
Oh,
to sign the book as the narrator of the book. And she was like, this was like, she sent me a message. She was like, someone came to the con with your book, and it's like I haven't even like done everything. And it was like, good, you're fine. And so like that's always a fun situation dealing with all of that. So like, yeah, I'm a narrator. I love the narration. I'm audiobook guy. So that's why I'm like when I said I bought the second book, I'm like, Audible, done. It was there. It was good. So I don't want to keep you too much because I know you're on your lunch break. So I don't want to go crazy. Because like we're having a great time and I could talk to you for a very long time.
I know. I
I
wish I could hang out longer.
Yeah. So one last thing, I know I remember a story that you were talking about lately, dealing with your situation within the author space, because like you are a woman in the sci-fi arena, and you do have a lot of themes, and unfortunately when people hear like romance and they hear it from a woman, they check out mentally.
Yeah.
um so give us a little bit of where those struggles might come in from your perspective, because it's not necessarily something that we've dealt with, because like you're only you're the first sci-fi narrator that we've talked to on the book club. So let us know what struggles you might have had kind of pushing into what is largely perceived as a male dominated area.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's it's really hard, and I think sometimes my books haven't gained as much traction because it's like, yeah, I'm writing a sci-fi tale, so I'm attracting more male readers, which I do believe male and like you got to understand your market, and I do believe male and female readers enjoy my books equally, but it's convincing the female readers that they're going to like it and convincing male readers that the romance doesn't take away from what they like in sci-fi. And for a little bit, I debated taking out the romance. But for me, I had to take a step back and be like, no, this is my story. This is what I want to write. And for me, I think the romance isn't a major part of it, it's a subplot.
Hmm.
And I have to describe to people, I go, just there's like one or two chapters in every book, except for book two, because it's the subplot where there's romance. And I think it adds to the story because the characters play so well with each other and their chemistry works. I'm not forcing anything. I had to take a step back and go, okay, is any of this forced? No. Okay, well, I'm going to tell this story. I don't care what people say. If it felt forced, I would have gotten rid of it. It doesn't. So the next step is
It
just
doesn't.
kind of like I had to learn over these past couple years as going into the publishing industry not to apologize for what I have in my books and not feel the need to justify. Before I'd be like, no, 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 you're going to like it. Now I just go, okay, if it's not for you, it's not for you. Move on. Like, I'm not going to beg you to read my book series. I'm not going to get on my hands and knees and be like, no, you're actually going to like it. Those people aren't people I want to be my readers anymore.
Hmm.
And if I can't convince them, I can't convince them. There have been situations where you just kind of have to move on, or like I go to a sci-fi convention and I'm in a row with other sci-fi authors. All the other guys are men. They go, and I've seen people go right down the aisle and talk to every other author and then look at me and walk away. And it's like, I'm at this sci-fi convention because I want people to see my face and be like, oh, she's a sci-fi author. I'm not going to convert everyone. I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to do a lot. And you just, there's some things you just have to accept. And so it's just kind of being grateful for the people that are reading my content, hoping word of mouth gets me somewhere. And that's why I say it's sci-fi fantasy, because there are a lot of fantasy elements. And I think I can pull in more female readers with that fantasy aspect. But when I'm talking to men, I go, listen, like, I'm an engineer. I know how to tell this story. If you want the sci-fi, it's there. If you're going to have an issue with the romance, well, that's human. If you're going to expect a realistic story and you're not going to expect realistic emotional turbulence, that's just not realistic at all.
Hmm.
And if people go, oh, well, I don't read smut and you're a smut author, I've been told that. And I go,
There's no. Wow. Okay.
there is in book two and there is in book four, but it's
I
one chapter.
I
That's
have
not smut.
So like I have an issue with the term smut in general, and we joke about this a
Yeah.
lot in there, but it's just like there's a difference between romance and smut.
Yep.
Like it, like even I'll defend Fourth Wing because people are just like, oh, Fourth Wing smut. It's like Fourth Wing is 10 pages of a
Fourth Wing
500-page
pushes the
book.
boundaries sometimes, but
Sometimes, but like Iron Flame does. But like Fourth Wing, the introduction into the series is 10 pages. Ten
yeah,
pages out
it's
of
not bad.
500. It's like that converts to about a 4-minute scene in a 2-hour movie. So like if you
I will
consider
say, I will say that because I did the audiobook for Fourth Wing. There is romantic tension that dominates the plot. So
true,
I would say it is a romantic. With my
oh,
book,
it's
it's a
absolutely
sub.
romanticy.
Yeah. So for that, I will argue and go, it's not smut, but it is romance. With my
Mm,
books, the romantic tension exists, doesn't dominate the plot. And for me as well, I tell people, I go, so you're fine with me ripping out the guts of a character from a feral alligator, and you're okay with me describing all of that. You're okay with cursing, you're okay with every other form of adult content. But as soon as it goes into romance, you're not okay with it.
mm-hmm,
And so that's when I push the envelope a little bit and I go, okay, well, I'm telling an adult story. It would be disingenuous of me to back shy away from different aspects. If I'm telling an adult story, I'm telling an adult story.
mm,
And that means there's going to be adult feelings and there's going to be adult fallout. Meaning if it happens, it happens. And that's when I ask that question. I go, none of it is forced. I don't modify the plot just to have that scene. If the scene doesn't advance the plot, then I get rid of it. And so for me, it does bother me because I put so much thought into it.
mm-hmm.
It's anytime it happens, it's thoughtful, it's intentional. There are some books, like you said, smut and romance books, where it's a little much, but that's what people are there for.
Yeah,
And but my books don't do that. So if
it's
it
always
happens, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
it's always weird because like when you're dealing with the sci-fi aspect, I'm like Captain Kirk fucked everything. Like
Mhm.
like you grew up with fantasy. Like Captain Kirk banged everything. It didn't matter the
Yeah,
color, race, creed, like alien. It's fine. He didn't even check to see. It was like, wait, maybe let's see if we even like match up anatomically. He didn't care. So like when people are just like, well, I don't like the romance in sci-fi. I'm like, you don't like sci-fi. You don't like human. You don't like human stories. You just want action. Like,
yeah,
ugh,
yeah.
it just feels
And
boring.
that's the thing too. It's just like people ask me and it's almost like a got you moment and they're like, oh, got you. And I'm like, what do you what do you want from me here? Like I'll be honest. Like if anyone says I don't like any romance, I go, I'll be honest with you, it exists in my story. If you don't like it, you can fast forward. You don't have to participate in those scenes, but for me it didn't feel right to just not let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
It felt organic so I wrote it. I make sure my editor and I we do a spice level. We make sure it doesn't go above like a certain agreed spice level and we go, okay, like it's going to happen, it's going to be there because I think I'm all about psychology and emotional arcs, and you would be taking from the readers if you didn't let that arc continue and if you didn't let it go to its actual conclusion by doing a closed door or something like that, which once again feels really jarring when you're writing a story where you're talking about the ways people are killing each other and the
Mm-hmm.
ways that like Geneva conventions are being ignored, but for some reason, as soon as there's like
Yeah. Oh no, she left the
clothes being
door
taken off,
open.
it's too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. And that's what I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not. And then sadly, though, like you said with Star Trek and stuff, because I'm a woman, I have to defend it more. If a guy does it, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just stopped apologizing for it. I'm honest about what exists in the plot. And then I go, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm not going to beg you to read my book, but I think it's a good series and you're missing out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's definitely been hard to navigate, but you can't change the world. You can't force people to read.
It makes sense. All right, so I
Yeah.
want to let you go because I know you it's your lunch break. You need to check this out, guys. If you have not done it already, the Tyrant's Daughter is here. It is available uh everywhere. She's got one too. We
I got it.
match. You can find this on Amazon. Is this on Barnes and Nobles or anything like that? So is it?
Yes, the
Uh,
hardcover that I'm holding is on Barnes and Noble.
there's a hardcover.
Yeah, I don't carry it because it's Barnes and Noble's very hard to keep it stocked, but
Yes.
they have it. If you want a hardcover, it's at Barnes and Noble.
Okay, so yeah, you can do that also on our personal website. We'll obviously leave links in Discord for you guys. Thank you so much for your time, Isabel. I appreciate you so very much. We do want you back on here as we get a little bit closer to book 5 dropping. I might like hit you up so that way we can talk about it, and we'll do some like, hey, we it's time to start catching up on this series because we're going to talk about it here. So like I do want to sit down with you again because you were very fun to talk to, and I loved your series, and we had a lot of fun talking about everything that was going on with this, and we can't wait to talk to you about more of your series. And I wish nothing but the best for you. The book is great, and I want to see you do so much more. And yeah, I appreciate you so very much. So again,
You're
guys,
so sweet.
thank you. ID Marie, the Tyrant's Daughter. Pick it up wherever you find your books, and we will catch you guys next time.
Talk to you later, Paul. Thank you so much for having me.